everyone, and welcome to Season 5, Episode 1 of From Hope to Glory at Truro City. With me, the United City FM. Welcome along, and welcome to the Football League. Truro City in the Football League in League 2. We've brought them all the way up from Tier 7 to Tier 4, and the journey's only really just beginning, isn't it? We've got so much more to do. For today's episode, we get to look at the transfer window from this particular season, and we also get to play our first match in the Football League against Crawley Town. Welcome back to Truro City and welcome to League 2. So here we are, first day of a brand new season with a few new players, but considering how many I've exchanged in previous seasons, I think I've done pretty well to just be a little bit more subdued in the transfer market this time round. But we have made some significant moves, which has been really interesting to do over the last couple of months of game time. We do play Crawley today. We've had a couple of friendly matches that mostly have gone pretty well for us, in mostly getting some match sharpness into these players. And you can see already McJanet has started really well again. Can he take that form into League 2? And the first thing we can say is that we have again got him on loan from Luton. And if we go into his contract, you'll see that at the end of this season, that begins in 2024, at the end of the season in 2025, his Luton contract runs out. So can we get this guy on a free transfer at the end of this season, or are Luton going to offer him a new contract and try and get him involved in their squad as they move forward? He's not the complete striker, of course not. He's playing for us in League 2, but at this level, he is a very, very good striker. And at 20, there's still some improvement in here, I think. So he's around, and you can see that he started well. But yeah, other than that, there's not much to tell you about the friendlies, really. They were all pretty decent. We all got a reasonably good result other than that Walsall match, but that's okay. Confidence is pretty high. But let's go and check out what we did do in the transfer market. So let's start briefly with the released players. Some of these are youth players that we didn't ever get a chance to see, but there are quite a few first team squad players in here. Let's say Tyler Harvey goes, Brendan Chanel goes, Josh Casey, he left. He wasn't quite good enough for what I wanted as a left fullback. James Hammond, been here since the beginning like Tyler Harvey has, worked really hard to get us to where we are, but now it's time to move on with a little bit more quality. Jamie Morgan, right back, didn't get too many games last season. Right back is still a bit of a problem, to be honest, but hopefully we'll be okay this season. And then the last one that I really need to talk about is Horswood. And Horswood left because ultimately, as we talked about a lot last season, he was unhappy from the previous season when I didn't use him too much at that point. Last season, he had an absolutely fantastic year. Got 25 goals in 34 games in the Vanarama National League. Got a few more goals on top of that as well. And was brilliant for me, but I could never make him happy enough to stay, having unsettled him the season before. And in the end, he left on a free transfer at the end of his contract. He just wouldn't renew it with me. So there you go. He's out the door, unfortunately. And as yet, he hasn't found another club. So that's quite a surprise, really. But anyway, that one's done and dusted. So what did we do to replace those? We also, of course, lost Mundell. There's no of course about it. You didn't know that. We lost Mundell. He got bought by Portsmouth for a release fee, so that's okay. He was a little bit more periphery last season with Williams coming into the club to play in that central midfield role. Williams was on loan last season, but you can immediately see that two of our loanees from last season, Alfie Roberts in goal and Williams in that central midfield role, have both come into the club on free transfers at the end of their contracts, which is great. So they are now officially in the club. So what else did we do? Well, we had to replace Horswood as in our striking position. We also had a right fullback to find, a central defender to find, all sorts of things. And I think in the end we did reasonably well. But there are one or two just slight issues, let's say. So let's go through them from the first one that we signed. And it's this young lad. Is this the last one or the first one? I don't know. Anyway, Andreas Fink comes in on loan from Oldham, and he's only a young guy at 17, but he's going to be right fullback cover. And I think for 17, I think there's a decent player in here. Good determination, good tackling, passing's decent. Could do a little bit more with the crossing maybe, but we'll work on that with him. Teamwork, work rate, stamina. Those are three that I always look at for my fullbacks. And he's got that. Bravery is good. So I think there's a decent player in here. We can hopefully bring him on a little bit this season by giving him some game time. But I think we'll have to be a little bit careful about when we give him the game time potentially. Next in is this guy, Tom Walker. He's going to play a more central role. He can play both left side and central, which is pretty decent, although I'm not quite sure he's got all of the attributes, should I say, for a left-sided role. But in that central midfield player area, playing as the Metzala, he will rotate with Williams, and I think there's enough in there to suggest he's a reasonable backup. If nothing more, I think we've got a reasonable backup to Williams this season in the Metzala role. So Tom Walker comes into the club. Dan Bowery, he comes in as a central defender. We lost one of our central defenders in Chanel, so we needed to replace him. And we brought a 26-year-old in, and he's got some very good attributes. I would suggest, again, in the key areas, I think he's pretty strong. So I'm hoping that in rotation with all of our others, the likes of Kazoo and Stavru and Whitmore, I think is the other one, they're all still around. And I think this guy will fit in quite nicely and give us a rotation option, which is very good. Now, these two, obviously Roberts and Williams, have been in the club before, and there are two players here, Aaron Hull and Reece Devine, that have both come in from Manchester United. Now, Reece, his contract was up and he left the club on a free transfer, so I took him. Similarly with Aaron Hull. Now, Reece Devine, if you have never seen this guy before, he's been around on Football Manager quite a bit and is a reasonable player to have at a couple of lower divisions down from the Premier League. To get him in League 2, I'm kind of stunned at, if I'm totally honest. I offered him a contract, not really thinking he would sort it out. As a left fullback in the League 2, I think this guy is going to be an absolute superstar for us. And we had to pay him a hefty wage for this level. That's absolutely true, we did. But look at the attributes on him compared to everybody else that we've seen so far. I think this is a bit of a coup, and I'm absolutely ecstatic to have Reece Devine in the club. So he's in at left fullback. And the last one is Aaron Hunt, who takes over the Horsewood position in our striker role. And again, on a free transfer through the Man United youth setup, we managed to get an 18-year-old with some very, very good base attributes at this level and plenty of scope to work with him to potentially improve them. 14 finishing, 12 composure, 12 pace, 12 acceleration. Determination is reasonable. They've got a bit of flair about him, but teamwork, work rate, stamina, all really good as well to work hard for us at the top of our team. And he will come in straight into the starting lineup as well. The likes of McJanet will be his partner, and then we've got Ball and Neil on as support roles in that sense, in rotating. And last season you saw what damage our strike force did to the league in Vanarama National League. This season, let's hope they can do the same in League 2. And that is what we did in the summer. So as we move into the pre-match tactics and the setup for this season, just a couple of other little things to tell you about. So we have a couple of injury issues. We also have at least one player that didn't show up in the conversation we've just had. And I think it's this guy. I'm not quite sure why he didn't. But we have brought this guy in from Harrogate for 3.6 million, and he is a reserve goalkeeper for us. We got rid of Hammond and we got rid of our other goalkeeper from last season, and so Belshaw comes in as a replacement for Alfie Roberts whenever Alfie Roberts can't play for whatever reason. So he comes into the club as backup in the goalkeeping position. The only other thing to say is that we did keep 3 of our loan players from last season. You can see we've already seen McJanet stayed, but Bukoc and Nick Rogers stayed as well. And Nick Rogers is important because he played at right fullback for us last season, and his parent club Ipswich, their manager, was not happy over the fact that he played at right back when we promised to play him at central defence, apparently, within the loan deal that we had. But we managed to keep hold of him by fobbing them off a little bit here and there. But this time round, when we renewed the loan deal, I took away the thought that he had to play in a particular role. So now we can focus him on that right fullback position that he played very well for us last season. So he's back in the club. He could make a very good central defender, of course he could, but he's by far the best right fullback I can find at this level. Right fullback has been the biggest problem to fulfill in this squad for the last 3 seasons. No doubt about it. It's been so difficult to find a decent one, and this is as good as we've got. So he plays as our number 1 choice, and of course now we've also got Andreas Fink, who is the option in rotation at right fullback as well. And we'll see who comes out on top over the season. But ultimately, I think we've got better than we had, but not still quite as good as we could potentially find, hopefully. But that's for another day. This is what we're working with today. And for today's match against Crawley Town, just before we do that, let's go into the league and just have a check-up on what the preview suggests that we're going to achieve this season. And compared to where we have been the last couple in the Vanarama National League, it's a little bit of a stark reading, isn't it, really? The prediction is that we will finish in 18th position. I'm not totally sure about that, because how can we ever be sure about that? It's difficult to know how you're going to fit into a new division until you get going, really. But we're going to give it as good a go as we can. And I guess ultimately, if we avoid relegation this season, then that is a job well done. But you can see immediately that Reece Devine is in the Media Dream 11 for the season, which is fantastic. So we've got 1 player in there at least. And who else do they say is our key player for Truro City this season? McJanet is the other one, which is kind of obvious really up top. So those 2 are going to be really relied upon. But yeah, 18th position is where they predict. I would say if we can avoid relegation this season, we have to be happy with that. And that's the intention. But who knows, maybe we can achieve more than that. And we're involved in a bucket load of cup competitions as well, which is a bit overload, I think, in terms of the amount of games we have to play. But hey ho, there you go. Anyway, Crawley Town today in the League 2, the Sky Bet League 2, and this is the opportunity to play for the first time in the Football League. So the team for today's match is Roberts in goal, Rogers at right back, Devine at left back, Kazoo and Whitmore in central defence, Bukoc and Williams in central midfield, Wright Phillips on the right, D'Souza on the left, and McJanet and Hull up top, with a bench of Bowery, Dunlan, Silla, Walker, Knowles, Salam and Ball. So let's get into today's game and see what happens. So, first day of the season, we've simply asked them to go out there and impress me, really, to see what they can achieve at this particular level against Crawley Town. The only thing that's changed about our tactic, our formation stays the same. The tactic has changed not a lot either. We're going with the wing play in the 4-4-2. The only change is that we've dropped it from positive to balanced. Oh, that was a good opportunity to try and chip the goalkeeper. It didn't quite come off for us. But yeah, we've gone from positive to balanced just to settle ourselves into the division and just see where we sit. But of course, all of that is completely negotiable as we move forward. Any of it can be changed if and when we need to. Crawley Town on the attack had a decent effort at goal, throw in on the right hand side, but it looks like we're going to win the loose ball there from D'Souza. We do, and he skips past one defender, has got plenty of space in front of him all the way into the box, and then thumps the ball into the side netting and potentially had an opportunity to drop it inside to our strikers there. Hull with a free kick onto Whitmore, and eventually they get the headed clearance out. But Hull is going to be useful to us in a number of positions this season, not least in some of the set pieces. Devine with a corner kick over here, gets a second chance to cross the ball in, loses that opportunity really, and it's Crawley that pick up the ball in midfield, settle the play down again, play a couple of nice 1-2s to get the ball out wide left, and now they're working into the box, but they don't manage to do it. Kazoo intercepts the ball, goes up to McJanet, heads it off to Wright Phillips brilliantly well. Bucock over the top for McJanet again. Was he offside there? Don't think so, but possibly. And there is a debut goal for Aaron Hull. Lots of great work down this right-hand side from the likes of McJanet and Wright Phillips on the ball. Drops it back to Bucock over the top for McJanet. I was a little concerned he ran too quickly there and went offside. We'll have to check that in a second if they show the highlight again. But then he crosses it in and Hull cuts across the defender and there is no offside. And we go 1-up after 20 minutes of the match, which is fantastic. Excuse me. So a long goal kick, eventually won in the right full-back area for Crawley, but a loose ball again, but they have won it back again. A bit scrappy for a while in the middle of the park there, but eventually Crawley settle it down. They get a chance for themselves in the box, and they don't make any mistake at all, do they? Oh, but it was disallowed, apparently. I suspect he went just a tad too early. He did, millimetres potentially, but he went too early and was offside, and the goal gets disallowed, and we keep our 1-0 advantage. 25 minutes, corner kick for Crawley to the near post, header from the attacker, but it goes over the top of the bar. The goalkeeper was unfazed by it. Goal kick from Roberts goes long up to McJanet again, but didn't quite win the header that time. Defensively, Crawley was strong, and they've got it back out on this left-hand side. They attempted to get past the right fullback, didn't work, but then they crossed the ball in and had a fantastic half-volley shot at goal, and it hits the woodwork and comes back out again, and we boot it clear. Rode our luck a little bit there. You can see in terms of match stats that we are a little bit down on possession, but that's okay, style of play that we play. But we're pretty even in terms of chances created, so that's okay. But just recently, Crawley have been showing a little bit more dominance. Hull loses out there. His control wasn't so good on the ball, and it's again Crawley that come down the left-hand side, cross in, and the oncoming striker gets a shot, and there's a second header, and eventually Khalil for Crawley puts the ball in the back of the net again after a couple of attempts on that occasion where we scrambled it clear. Eventually the header is found by Khalil, and they do go 1-up after 38 minutes of the first half. A good header, a good cross in to that far post, and a good header. But there is another replay. What's happened here? No, there is no offside on this occasion. They checked it for offside, but he wasn't. And it is 1-1 after 38 minutes. And it was coming for a little while, wasn't it? Crawley were definitely pushing at us. And their pressure ultimately told, and we cracked a little bit. We've got 5 minutes to go till half time, and again Crawley have got a load of space down this left hand side. Not happy about that at all. Was it Wright Phillips not tracking back and doing his work as well in the defensive area? Must look at that and how that's set up, because that was far too much space. Devine wins the header. D'Souza takes over for Truro City, should I say. Hull on the edge of the box, almost loses the possession again, but gets it back, and then he puts a lovely cross in after a 1-2 with Devine, and it's Wright Phillips under the ball with a header, cuts it back across goal, and the goalkeeper is wrong-footed, and the ball goes up in the back of the net for a 2-1 lead on 44 minutes. Hull nearly lost the ball there, gets a really good 1-2 with Reece Devine, which opens up the space for the cross, and it's Wright Phillips at that far post who gets the header back across goal, and we are indeed potentially just about, we have managed to get to half time with a 1-goal advantage, 2-1 after a really kind of action-packed first half. Lots of highlights. My voice is struggling a little bit to keep up with it, to be honest. 13 shots at goal, 4 on target, 8 shots for us and 3 on target. So we're a little bit down on what Crawley have achieved there. XG ratings are fairly similar, and we've managed to get the second goal from them, which is fairly decent. Possession stats, not fantastic, but not too bad. And the pass completion, again, I'd quite like to raise that a little bit, but ultimately, I'm not complaining about any of it, considering that we've played one half of football in League Two, and we've competed very, very well for most of it, I would suggest. I think we'll go with the assistant. Outstretched arms, not outstretched arms. Let's pump the fists. Things are going well, but I know you're capable of even better. Keep them moving forward on the front foot. Keep them wanting to push forward. So we're going to go in and demand more from them at the start of the second half as well. Just up the intensity a little bit of their play and see if we can begin to control this game a little bit in the second half and get maybe a couple more chances. But again, it was a Crawley Town throw-in. We won the loose ball, booted it clear, but that just gave it back to Crawley Town. But again, we win it. Hull with a lovely ball over the top for McJanet, who goes into the box and then from a slightly narrow angle, really, has to fire it straight at the goalkeeper, who parries it over for a corner kick. Corner comes in, but it's pushed back out to Devine for a second attempt at the cross. He goes deep for Kazoo, and then Kazoo's cross doesn't really find anybody, but we do pick up the loose ball again down the left-hand side, and again it's Devine trying to get the cross in, but it's blocked again for another corner kick, and we can reset the corner and see what we can achieve with Devine on the ball again. Crosses it to the far post, and this time it's a much better clearance from Crawley, and they get a chance to potentially counter-attack with Khalil down that left-hand side. We've got a lot of our defenders back, and Bucock gets a foot in, and Rogers prevents the ball going out, and we settle down, and the danger goes on that particular occasion. Bit back and forth, both had plenty of opportunities to do something. Neither quite managed it. We've reached 72 minutes, so we're just going to go in and see who we can protect a little bit in terms of match sharpness and what average ratings we're getting. And you can see that we've got Bucock is on a 6.6, so he's got a little bit of an issue there. Both central defenders are as well, which is unfortunate. We've got a yellow card to Kazoo as well. So we're going to take him off and protect that and take one of the lower ratings out there. And he can come in and play that role. We're also going to bring in Silla to play in instead of Bucock in that Carrelero role, just to protect Bucock from not having a particularly great game. And we've got one more to make, and I'd quite like to make a more offensive change if we can. So let's bring Knowles or Salam, I think, down the left-hand side. I think we'll leave both strikers on this occasion. Let's take Wright Phillips off and put Sam Knowles on, and he can play the remainder of the game down that right-hand side for us. Those are the changes we're making. I don't feel the need to change anything in the approach. It's quite a balanced approach, as I've already said. And maybe we should have changed something, because immediately the game restarts. It's Crawley with a free kick, and they drift it into the box, and they get a fairly easy goal, if I'm honest, right at that near post. There's no defender between him and the ball other than the wall, and once the ball goes over the wall, the attacking player has a perfectly good header. And here we are again with Crawley. We might have to change something here, but Rogers with a good block gets it up to McJanet, who holds the play up very nicely. Sam Knowles rides one challenge and gets open ground in front of him, piles down that right-hand side, and then absolutely thumps the ball along the floor into the penalty box. And it's a second goal for Aaron Hull on his debut for Truro City. Immediately we respond 3-4 minutes later from the goal that Crawley Town score. A lovely move down the right-hand side, and then eventually Hull sweeps the ball into the back of the net, and we go 3-2 with about 5 or 6 minutes still to play plus added time. We've got to be on our mettle a little bit, but we win the ball down that right-hand side from Knowles again. McJanet with a long-range effort, and it was a bit wide and wild, wasn't it, really, unfortunately. He hasn't quite found his shooting boots today. but Aaron Hull certainly has. A left-sided free kick for us down this left-hand side for Devine to work his magic there. He's worked it into midfield and then on to McJanet again, and he swept the ball forward. I think it was offside and it hit the post anyway. It hasn't quite been McJanet's day, has it really? But those days will come, I have no doubt. Today was all about Aaron Hull and his debut and scoring 2 goals for us. A phenomenal performance by him, supported very, very ably, it must be said, by a couple of other players as well. So we're just going to take a very quick look at the analytical stuff today, just because we've been through a load of transfers and other things as well. So I'm not going to keep you for too long. But the statistics for the game were pretty decent, really. We came into it very well in the second half. Got an XG rating of 2.07, scored 3 goals from it. Shots at goal, 19 in the end. We overtook what Crawley achieved. And we got 8 of those on target. So half of them on target. I'd like a few more. If we'd have got to 10 or 11 on target out of the 19, I think that would have been really good. Possession stats evened out a little bit. Passing completion rate stayed roughly the same. That's not too bad. We got some very good ratings down this right hand side and across our strike force. Both right wingers played very well when they were on the pitch, and then Hull and McJanet also played very well up top, which was great to see. So that's fantastic. If we go and look in a little bit more detail, our shape was pretty decent. That is a very nice formation, a very nice shape. Everybody playing their part very well. In response to that, Crawley actually sat a bit deeper than we did. Not a lot, but a bit deeper, which enabled us to put some pressure on them, I think. Our range of shooting was decent. A whole clump of them in this area just outside the 6-yard box, but maybe a couple of them veering too far off to the right hand side and being too narrow, and a few long range efforts as well, but not too bad. We lost out in the action zones in midfield specifically, which is something we might need to work on. We'll have to watch out for that third man in midfield that a lot of teams play, and we'll have to continue to approach it round the sides a bit. But ultimately, I think, it worked out for us. Aaron Hull on his debut, 2 goals, man of the match. Fantastic performance from him. If we look more specifically at our shots, the 3 goals that we scored were all in that clump of opportunities. So we worked the ball very nicely there. We had quite a lot that were off target, a couple, as I say, from slightly too wide, and these slightly longer efforts didn't work for us. We did hit the woodwork twice though, once off the post, once off the crossbar, so that was unfortunate in its way. There could have been more goals. 5 of the efforts saved by the goalkeeper, 2 more blocked by the defenders. All in all, I'm pretty happy with our shooting and our goal scoring exploits today. I think we could potentially have controlled the game a little bit more. So we'll have a look through this. Here's the pass completed, just because it makes me giggle. Intercepted passes, a couple of clearances from the goalkeeper and a fullback. Other than that, these 3 potentially should have found their target, but it's not too bad. Blocked passes, there's only a couple from down this left-hand side when Reece Devine was on the ball. Unsuccessful passes. As is always, we forget the throw-ins down the side. We forget the clearances from the goalkeeper in the defence. But it's this central midfield area, moving it into the final third, that maybe we just need to tweak a little bit. I'll have a look at what I can do in individual instructions over the next few games, just to see if we can improve that accuracy a little bit. But it's not too bad. Out of play, 5, sweeping it out wide to the wings didn't always work. 14 key passes from down these wing areas. This is the wide play that we have instigated for the last season or so, working the wings, and it's working very nicely to get us some chances in that middle area in the penalty box. And occasionally we just need to be a little bit more clinical in taking them, but today we did pretty well. I'm not going to go any further than that. It doesn't need anything more than that today. It was a successful first day. We played in the Football League for the first time, and we competed very well. And we won the game. So So what are we going to be up to next episode? Well, we've got plenty of scope for what we do next, really. There's obviously loads of games coming up because we haven't played any yet. We've only played the one game. So what we're going to come back for is, I think that if you look through, there's about 7 or 8 games between now and the end of September in the Sky Bet League 2. So I think that's a good amount of time for us to get our feet under the table in the league and figure out where we sit and go through a couple of rounds of these minor cup competitions as well. So we're going to come back and we're going to play... Let's come back and play Bolton at the beginning of October. A big name in this division, Bolton, aren't they? Having dropped down from the Premier League over the last few seasons, they've really found themselves in a real bad spot in a way, haven't they? But there they are as a reasonably big side in this league. Let's come and see how we cope with them at home at the very beginning of October. So give me a little bit of time to get through this and just see how we are in this division. I'll get a better understanding of it, possibly tweak the tactics a little bit and some player instructions, and by the time we come back to Bolton we'll have a clearer picture as to where we're at in League 2. So that's what we're going to be coming back for next episode. For today though, what a fantastic start. Some good new players in the club, some exceptional ones as well, with Reece Devine I would suggest, and Aaron Hole getting off to a good start, and still the basis of a very good squad from last season as well, and a good win against Crawley Town sets us off very nicely. So thank you for joining me today. I hope you're going to enjoy this season as much as we have the last couple. Who knows where we'll end up in this league still. It might be a complete false dawn and we might really struggle, or it might be the start of something really amazing in this league. We'll find out. But that's going to do it for today. So subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and join my United City community. The more the merrier. Click that like button on this particular episode. That helps me get seen by lots of other people. Till next time though, take care of yourselves. I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.